Good afternoon, guys. Now, this afternoon's A. We are talking about ICUs are on life support, a single patient story. It's a narrative. Okay, so I'm going to read that for you for A. So let's jump in. The call came at 1:12 a.m. A 62-year-old man, fever spiking, breathing fast, skin cold to the touch. He was a farmer who lived 2 towns over, the kind of patient whose life depended on minutes and then sun and the steady hum of machines and clinicians who know how to use them. The emergency department team moved with practice urgency. IVs, broad spectrum antibiotics, vasopressors, oxygen. They did everything right. What they could not control was the map. The hospital's ICU had closed 6 months earlier. Administrators called it consolidation. Insurers called it efficiency. And the family called it a nightmare. The transfer. By 2 a.m., the patient was stable enough to move, but still dangerously fragile. The nearest accepting ICU was 94 miles away. The ambulance crew that could have made the trip was already tied up on another long transfer. The emergency department called every regional center within range. Each call stretched the seconds into a small, cruel eternity. When the transport finally arrived, the patient had been in the emergency department for nearly 4 hours. He left on a gurney with a ventilator humming, a nurse holding his hand, and the ambulance crew drove through a night that felt longer than it should have been. The nearest ICU bed was finally available, but the window for full recovery had narrowed. It had narrowed to a slit. He survived. He left the hospital weeks later with scars and a story that would haunt his family. Many others do not survive. The system that failed him. This is not a tale of a clinical error. It is a tale of policy and payment. ICUs are expensive to maintain, specialized staff, ventilators, monitoring systems, and the constant, relentless readiness to respond. A 3 a.m. Medicare's payment model, however, rewards encounters, the billable procedures, and days of care, not the cost of being ready to serve, to save a life and at any hour. For low volume hospitals, the that math is lethal. When reimbursement does not cover the fixed costs of readiness, administrators make the only decision that keeps the hospital solvent. They close the ICU. The community keeps the sign, the parking lot, the emergency department. What it loses is the one place where death can be reversed. The ripple effects. When an ICU closes, the harm is immediate and systematic. Ambulances are tied up on long transfers, leaving towns without rapid response. Emergency departments become holding pens where critically ill patients wait for a bed that may be hours away. Families watch loved ones leave in the back of an ambulance and pray the roads are clear and the receiving hospital has space. This is not an abstract policy debate. It is a series of human stories. A child with a head injury whose transfer is delayed. A stroke patient who misses the window for clot busting therapy. A mother with postpartum complications who must be flown out at great cost and risk. Each closure compounds risk across the entire region. The cure. The solution is a straightforward pay for capacity, not just encounters. Cost-based reimbursements and targeted rural protections. Keep ICU doors open by recognizing the fixed costs of readiness, enforcing heredity for Medicare Advantage plans, prevents insurers from quietly starving small hospitals, restoring rational transfer and step-down pathways, preserves the continuum of care for the sickest patients. This is not a plea for unlimited spending. It's a demand for rational spending that values life-saving infrastructure the way we value fire stations and police departments. We do not ask a town to close its firehouse because there were no fires last month. We should not ask a town to close its ICU because there were few critical patients last quarter. The moral imperative. The farmer who nearly died that night is not an abstraction. He is a neighbor, a father, a person whose life mattered to people who uh, loved him. His survival was a narrow victory, not a system success. We should not measure our health system by how many lives it can save. When everything goes right, we should measure it by how many lives it can save when everything goes wrong. Medicare created the modern hospital system. It can save it again by recognizing that readiness costs money and that those costs are worth paying. ICUs are on life support. Medicare reform is the cure. Okay, guys, that is your A for you. I will be back on shortly with B. Give me a bit for a small break, please. And I'll be back on with B for you. For now, Gator Wellness, take care, folks.